Hey guys, welcome back to my podcast, Overthink Everything with Katya Karat. I'm so happy to see you back. And today is going to be a lot of different topics. We're going to talk about different things. But first and foremost, now I have a stand. I mean, I already had a stand, but I felt cooler when I was just holding a microphone in my hand. But people in the comments, one person and my brother, told me that, it sounds like you're all over the place. You should do it with its hand. So now I'm doing it with its hand, and I hope everybody is grateful for that. Everybody, which is the people who watch this podcast. Thank you so much. Anyway, so today I wanted to talk about this thing called identification with your thoughts. And that is something that I think not a lot of people think about in general, but I do. So let's get into it. And I think this is something that can really help anyone who is struggling with negative thoughts or any mental health issues that include having thoughts that you don't want to have, which is overthinking, anxiety, OCD, anything like that. So, but obviously, here's the thing. I don't know to what extent this advice is going to work, but it worked for me. But I've never been diagnosed with anything, so take it with a grain of salt, you know what I mean? Anyway, so what do I mean when I say that you should stop identifying with your thoughts? I feel like a lot of us don't understand. Okay, so you have to understand, a person, whatever you think is you, is an ego. There is a you, there's an ego, there's your internal monologue that is happening at all times. And you identify automatically with this thing. You wake up and you're like, oh, I am hungry. I am sick. I am, right? Or, for example, you just walk on the street and you look at people and you start to judge them in your head, compare them. Or you woke outside and you're like, oh, it is so sunny. Oh, it's so cloudy. Whatever it is, there's this internal monologue happening inside of your head that, who said that? You think it's you, but the reality is, you could have said anything else, because actually, can you shut the fuck up? Can you shut the fuck up for a second, right? Can you actually stop this internal monologue? Probably you can't. Because if you tell yourself, stop thinking about green elephant, you're already thinking about it, right? The only way to stop thinking about something is to start thinking about something else. But again, you're thinking. And the whole idea of meditation and mindfulness is that you can get to the position where you don't think about something and it's just stillness. And I could never get to that position ever until I learned that it's actually not normal. And a lot of people can be in just stillness and stare somewhere and just not think of anything. And then, well, if you think that your thoughts are you, then what is happening in that moments when you don't think of anything? Do you just not exist? Well, no, because actually your thoughts are not you. And here's where the idea of consciousness comes in. So what is consciousness and awareness? That is the part of you that is aware of you thinking about something. So, for example, you think, I am watching this video right now, but then there's a part of you that is aware that you are watching this video. And that is actually you, at least presumably, right? The ego is your thoughts and whatever it is that's happening in your brain. But you can think many different thoughts, and then you can change in a year and you're going to have completely different thoughts. Does it mean that you're not who you were? Yes, you change, but are you still, what is you at this point? Who are you, right? And that is a really good question, because if we define ourselves through our thoughts, well, then we just die and we get reversed every single second, because our thoughts change every single second. And whatever the thoughts were that you had when you were 5 are not the thoughts that you have right now when you're 20 something, right? But the truth is, you're still the same person. So how does that work? Where is this identification with who you are keeps inside of your brain, inside of your memory, or whatever? So this is where awareness comes into picture. And the simple explanation for awareness and difference between awareness and thoughts is, if we just take this little experiment, when we take a hand and, for example, you tell your hand right now to make a fist, right? But don't do it, okay? Right now, take your hand and tell yourself in your brain that your hand, make a fist, make a fist, make a fist. Actually think of it, visualize it, make a fist. But don't do it, right? Because you don't do it because you control your body. But what is it that controls your body? Is there a part of you that is aware that these are just thoughts, and whatever the actions that you're actually making, well, it's different from your thoughts, right? Because you can have many different thoughts, but you're not going to act on every single one of them. And I feel like it is much nicer to think of yourself that is something that is aware and is actually has autonomy over your body, over your actions, over everything that you're doing, instead of just your thoughts. And there's a whole idea in psychology where when you think about your thoughts, it's just like they come in and then they come out, right? They just like one ear in, one ear out, like as if they are not yours. But the truth is, obviously, your thoughts generate usually from things that you've already consumed or whatever happening outside of you, and an external environment, like internal and external environment, and whatever the neural pathways that exist in your brain. But if external environment changes, if your neural pathway changes, if you develop a different mindset, your thoughts are going to change and you're going to have a completely different framework inside of your own brain. So does it mean that you're a different person, or does it mean that you just have different thoughts? And I feel like this is also related to the whole idea of shame. So a lot of people who have quote unquote bad thoughts have this shame related to it, that they just thought this really, really negative thought. But the truth is, if you don't identify with it, if you're like, oh, it's not me, it's just a thought, like it's not me, literally, like it doesn't have to do anything to do with me, then you don't have that shame because it's not you. So why am I talking about it? First of all, I've read a couple of years ago, I've read this book, which is called Waking Up by Sam Harris. And this guy's like, he's trying to create spirituality for atheists, which I don't really believe in. But I don't really care about spirituality in this position. What I want to talk about is consciousness and the idea of consciousness. And so we still don't really know what it means and whether there is consciousness and other creatures and whatever. Like, what is consciousness even? Like, how does it, like, is it real? And the whole idea of consciousness allows the possibility of, the philosophical experiment of you are actually imagining everything that is around you and everybody else is just a robot, simulator, whatever. Because the truth is, your brain can generate all these images. Like, everything that you perceive in reality is just whatever your brain is, creating for you inside of your own brain. Like, whatever you perceive, it's, if you didn't have that in your brain, it wouldn't exist. So that there's a possibility that everything actually, you just in Matrix laying somewhere and everything is just rendering. But that's not the point. The point is, when I was reading that book, I really I was thinking about the fact oh, it's so interesting how, if the whole idea of consciousness is what you really are, and it's not about it's okay, I'm not even gonna lie, I saw this on TikTok where some guy was talking about the fact that if you're hurt right now, or if you're in a lot of pain, or whatever it is that you're mentally experiencing, there is a part of you that is not hurt, and that is the part of you that is aware that you are hurt, or that is aware that you feel a certain thing. And in my case, it was the fact that I felt extremely heartbroken, and I felt okay, guys, what is happening with this lightning? I was so heartbroken, and I felt like I was in so much pain, as if I just cannot keep existing, because my entire being, my entire body, my entire existence is just fucking pain, and I can't keep going in this position. No, what is happening? And the only thing that helped me when I was in probably peak mode of pain was that I was constantly keeping myself to this mantra that there is a part of me that is not hurt. I'm hurt only for 99%. There is a part of me that isn't hurt. And that allowed me to keep going, because I was this part is real. That part is real. Because even though right now I have all of these thoughts that literally consume me, and they give me so much pain, and I can't keep going, what feels I know that these thoughts are going to pass. They're going to evaporate. They're going to go away, but it's going to take time. And so I feel it relates to whatever pain that is you're feeling, which is a mental pain. You have to understand it is only a mental pain. And I feel there's a huge difference between physical pain and mental pain, because okay, like the monks and people in the Buddhist communities, whatever, they go so far as to say that you actually can overcome physical pain too, because obviously like physical pain is also just in your head, but physical pain can also have other manifestations in your body that are not just related to, you feel it in your brain. Like they can have actual manifestations like, like the results of your blood analysis, the whatever, like all like the physical things when you look worse or you cannot do something because you are in pain physically, right? But I feel like mental pain is really actually just in your head, even though like obviously like if you have mental illness, like it can change some analysis too, but like there are depths. I feel like there are levels, and a lot of pain is actually just in your head. And so when I have realized the fact that it is just kind of like, this is not going to kill me, like whatever the pain that you feel right now, which is like a mental pain, it's not going to kill you unless you allow it. Like you have the power actually, because these thoughts or these feelings or whatever it is, it's not you. You are something that is aware of it. And if you know that there is a chance for you in the future to feel differently and think differently, then it's not actually you. And what I started doing actually that helped me to kind of like get out of the negative mindset too that I had a lot in the past was that I just started to constantly stop identifying with my thoughts, which may a little be on kind of like borderline dissociation, but it's not that I dissociated from reality. Like I was aware of who I am and like where I am and all of that, but it's just that if I had a thought that I was like, that is like a crazy thought, like this is not who I am, I don't relate to this thought. And I feel like a lot of people can have this like bad thoughts, like judge other people, for example, or compare other people, or think badly of yourself and put yourself down and all of that, and just like a constant negative cycle of negativity. Or for example, like very simple things like, oh, I'm never gonna get there, or oh, I'm just like worthless, oh, I'm just like oh, it's pointless, oh, I will never get over it, oh, the whole like this trigger words like never, this like whatever, this is for forever, I am something that negative, whatever, all of these thoughts that you can have when you're in a negative mindset and it's perpetuating, it's almost impossible to get out of it, because obviously like it's a vicious cycle. And a lot of people are like, oh, just think positively, but like it's almost impossible to actually think yourself into a new way of acting. It's actually so much easier to act yourself into a new way of thinking. So, but it's really hard when you are in a comfort zone. So, and that's why like traumatic events or whatever, like something really changing in your environment can help you to get out of your comfort zone, because you can feel like, oh, nothing really matters, so I can do whatever I want. And then actually this is going to change your environment, and then it's going to change your thinking, because you're going to experience new things, and it's going to be like, oh wait, maybe it's not that bad. You know what I mean? It's not that negative as it was in my head. But to all of this to happen, I feel like, even though like in my situation when I was actually putting myself out there and I was, doing this whole thing of like acting myself into a new way of thinking, I still had a lot of negative thoughts and I couldn't escape them. And when I discovered this idea of like, oh, awareness, actually, like these thoughts, like it kind of gave me this like validity for these thoughts are not me. And I just like completely escaped the whole shame thing. Like I stopped feeling shame for feeling bad. Because I feel like if you feel bad or sad or depressed or whatever for a really, really long time and you can't get out of it, you don't really have like an actual viable reason for this, I feel like that's even worse. Because like obviously like if you have an explanation of like, oh, I'm in a bad situation, I haven't been lucky, I haven't been whatever, you can justify it with this, like with trauma or whatever. But I feel like a lot of people can feel sad or bad or depressed even though they don't have like a obvious reason to feel like this. And that actually creates another loop of shame, because you're like, oh, why do I feel bad if I don't even have a reason to feel bad, right? Like obviously if you have like an obvious reason to feel this pain, okay. But I feel like a lot of times in my life in the past, I had this thing where I felt like shit and I couldn't give you a reason why. Like I was just fucking sad. I was fucking miserable. And this negative, it was happening in my head. And I additionally to that, I also felt shame, because I was like, I'm supposed to be happy right now. I'm supposed to enjoy my life. I'm supposed to, I have so many things happening, but I can't even be grateful because I'm in so much pain for no reason. And especially when you tell other people about it who don't really understand that, and they start telling me like, oh, you're just like imagining problems, like it doesn't really exist. Like, just literally get over it. Like, why are you so sensitive? Bro, like don't even get me started, okay? So if you feel like this, here's my advice, and here's what helped me is that seriously, here's what I did. I just like stopped identifying with my thoughts completely. I was just like, everything I think, not me. I don't fucking care. I was just like, oh, like literally being on a walk, it was just like the way it was, my overthinking was working is that if I were on a walk in a park or sitting in class or anywhere, my head was just constantly, oh, well, you know what, actually, probably it's never gonna change. And you know what, actually, you know what, like, ew, look at this guy. He literally looks ugly. And then like, oh, literally, well, yeah, you're so poor. You're never gonna get out. Like, oh my gosh, all the negative bullshit that happens in your brain. And you're just like, I don't even believe these things. Like, I don't even believe these things. Like, why they're happening in my brain. And then you can get out of this. Here's what I did. I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna, if you're trying to push it away, it's obviously gonna come back in threefold. So the only way you can uh, heal it is by accepting it. Just being like, you know what, I allow my brain to think whatever it wants to think, but I don't fucking believe in it. I was just like, my brain, stupid as fuck. Like, my thoughts are not me. Like, these are not my thoughts. I have nothing to do with them. Like, I don't even know where they're coming from. Like, it is not me. I just said to myself, this is not me. I don't care. And it really helped me, guys, because at some point, it's like, you know, it's like when you have some person, like a bully in class, and literally it's the same thing, like a bully in class, and he keeps like, you know, picking on you or whatever, or she, and you, instead of like, you know, reacting in some certain way of like, you know, talking back or being really sad or whatever, you just don't give any reaction at all. Like, you just ignore them completely. First time they're gonna be like, ah, ha, ha, like, you can't even protect yourself. Like, they're gonna make fun of this, but over the course of time, it's just gonna get boring for them. It's just gonna get boring for them to bug you because you don't give any reaction whatsoever, and then they're gonna like leave you alone. And that always worked for me when I was in school because you had to escape those bullies somehow. Like, I was just like, didn't even fucking hear you, bro. I'm fucking deaf, okay? And the same thing is like, at some point, I don't know why something happened. I became my own bully, became my own enemy. And how did I get out of there? Is by literally starting to ignore myself, which sounds counterintuitive, like, because everybody's like, oh, you should be in tune with yourself, you should be, you know, listening to yourself and all that. And like, it's true, but like, you have to understand what is you and what is not you. Because if you think that your thoughts are you and your thoughts are crazy negative bullshit, then you are going to identify with that crazy negative person. But like, it's literally like, I know in my heart this is not who I am. And like, right now, after I healed so much and I've experienced so many new things, and like, my brain is rewired actually, and it's a positive mindset, and it's a really good feedback loop, but I'm not in a vicious negative cycle. I know for 100% like, this is not who I am, and this is not who I ever was. It's just like, at some point my brain got contaminated with this fucking bullshit. And I feel like, I don't know if it's going to work for everyone, but this is what worked for me. So the first step is like, just understand like, your thoughts are not you. And then you're like, oh, what is me? Like, if my thoughts are not me, like, what is me? Awareness. The part of you that is aware that these thoughts are crazy. Like, you know, like, if you have a thought of like doing something bad, right? Or a thought of like, oh, they think of me this or whatever, blah, 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 like whatever negative thought you have, and you think that, oh, this is who I am, then obviously you're going to start feeling shame for yourself. But if you have a bad thought and you don't act on it, you have to accept the fact that there is a difference between your thoughts and your actions, right? Like, we all can agree on that. But then how does that work? Then it means that your thoughts are not you, and then there's a part of you that is aware of your thoughts, and then that part that is aware actually decides like, what thoughts are we going to act on and what thoughts are we not going to act on, right? And that part that is aware of you is actually your autonomy and your whatever, who you really fucking are as a person, right? Because you can have fucking billions of negative bad thoughts, but if you don't act on them, you know, it's like actions over words, actions over talk. Same things, like if you have this internal monologue which is stupid, but like you act as if you actually want to, the way you actually want to act, then who fucking cares about your thoughts? And I feel like obviously like it's easier said than done, because I had to convince myself for fucking months daily. Like, it's really hard to ignore yourself when you are literally inside of your own brain. Like, it's really hard. But I was just like, every time I was just like, okay, fine, don't fucking care. Like, all of this mess that was in my head, I was like, I just don't care. Same thing as like, if you are, for example, it helped me when I was moving on. I feel like I feel like when you're moving on from someone, from a breakup or whatever, there's a thing when you feel like, oh, I moved on, and then it comes back again, and you just like feel as if there was no progress, and you just like miss that person again as if nothing fucking changed. And for me, what I did every single time it would happen is that I would just be like, okay, I know we're gonna cry it now. We're gonna feel like it is the end. We're gonna feel like it was actually the best thing that could have ever happened to me, and I will never find better, and I will actually fucking die right now. We actually gonna feel that, and then we're gonna let it go. Like, because like I don't actually believe that. Like, I don't actually believe that. Like, these thoughts are not me, you know? Because like I know what I believe in. I know what are my principles, and then I know what are my thoughts, and I still can have negative thoughts or thoughts that are just like I don't align with, but because I don't act on them, because I don't react on them, like seriously guys, like reaction is the best thing. Like seriously, it's when you realize like if you don't give yourself, like for example, if you have some sort of mental breakdown, right, or have a very negative thought, a very negative cycle, and you give yourself some sort of like shame for that, or some sort of pep talk for like negative back talk, like, oh, why would you even think that, like why would you even go there, like I've struggled so hard and worked so much for you to actually like be happier and healthier, and now you thinking about these things again, like literally what about all the progress? Like if you're gonna go down there, not the person, but like this like thoughts are gonna be like, oh my gosh, we have a reaction, there's a reaction from her for all these thoughts, we're gonna keep doing that. But if you give yourself literally no reaction, just like light work, no reaction, light work, no reaction, I don't really care, oh we just had this mental breakdown, fucking let's go to sleep, wake up tomorrow, go right in a hustle, you know what I mean? Like I don't care. I don't care, because I know that this is not me. I know who I am. I know who I am personally. Like I know who I am as a person. I know what I stand for. I know what I value, and I know what I deserve. And I don't care if my brain sometimes tells me otherwise, because I'm like, yeah, well, it's not me. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's not me. You can't convince me otherwise. I'm literally acting crazy. Anyway, guys, this is the way it worked for me, and I feel like if you have this, like it may work for you. Because I watch a lot of different people who talk about their mental health struggles online, and I think I've noticed this thing where people don't talk about like feeling shame, and I feel like also like the feeling of shame, it really really follows a lot of people who are struggling with mental health around, and I had a lot of feelings of shame, especially when I was like in my negative era, my depressive negative era. I felt shame about everything. I felt shame about things that I felt, about my past self, about, you know, almost anything that I was doing, because I didn't have a clear understanding of what is it that I value, what is it that I believe is me, what is it that is not me. But anyway, that's like a whole another topic. But all I'm trying to say is that, guys, if you still believe that you are your thoughts, shut the fuck up. It's not true. You're not your thoughts. You are actually the part that is aware of them. And I feel like this is such a liberating, idea, that it's just like, you don't actually have to be the internal police of your own brain. Let it go. Let it be, let it be. Let it be your thoughts to be whatever it is that they are. And I guarantee you that if you allow them to be whatever they be, literally stop reacting. Just ignore them. Ignore your negative thoughts. Ignore them. Just be like, I don't actually vibe with you, bro. Like, no. And at the same time, you start implicating like positive mindset, which is like you telling yourself every day in the mirror, like, no, actually, I'm a good person. I love myself. Actually, everything is good. People are trustworthy, blah, blah, blah. Like all these positive things, positive mindsets, bullshit. it works. Like it's like you were trying to convince yourself by rewiring your brain and convincing yourself like, oh, but this is like to think yourself into a new way of acting, which is a good supplement, but it's not as good as acting yourself into a new way of thinking. So like you need to do both. But I'm telling you, like, for example, like I tried for a long time when I was in a negative cycle of, this like think yourself into a new way of acting. And I was like constantly telling myself these things. But then I was like, after every single one of like, oh, I love myself, the next thought would be like, bullshit. Like, literally stop lying to yourself. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, all this disgusting negative stuff. So it doesn't really work unless you start ignoring the negative part. And if you don't start acting differently. And for that, I feel like when you understand like this autonomy that you have of your body, and like it doesn't matter really what thoughts you have, like the whole idea of like feel the fear and do it anyway. Exactly. Like your feelings don't determine your actions. Your thoughts don't determine your actions. You know what actually determines your actions? Your kind of like core principles and values, and whatever the idea of who you are really as a person. If you have a strong idea of who you are as a person, not anybody, not you, can convince you in something else. Like if you know in your core that you're a good person, and if you know in your core that you deserve a certain attitude towards yourself, then it's not going to matter what negative breakdowns you can have in your brain or whatever negativity you're going to get like from other people when you know who you are and you stand by it. You know what I mean? So this is all I really want to talk about today. Really deep psychological, hopefully helpful episode for someone. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I hope you have a beautiful day, week, month, year, and preferably the whole life. That's what we're looking for. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and of course, or for streaming. Please follow my YouTube channel, Katya Karat, and my Instagram, Katya Karat, and my TikTok, Katya Karat, and also stream my songs, because bro, like, who am I writing them for? Like, literally putting out all my feelings and you all not listening. Like, it's actually embarrassing. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and yeah, bye bye.